you if you're having any issues with it. Other than that, we are looking forward to getting started and diving into our topic here today, 7 strategies to increase traffic to your website. Glad that you guys are joining us. Lots of great information we're going to share in the presentation with you. Lots of new faces in our presentation today, so glad you guys are joining us for the first time. Welcome. Tell you a little bit about ourselves here in just a minute and then dive into the content. Lots of people that have been with us before, and welcome back. Glad you guys are here as well to continue your education, continue learning about marketing in the travel space and how to better market your properties. So looking forward to sharing some of that, sharing some of the results we've seen and what we really see working in a marketing space that's changing constantly and growing quite a bit as well, which is an exciting time to be in both in the industries but also specifically in marketing in the travel industry. Exciting time for that. So a little bit about us, if you've never been with us before. My name is Matt Baer. I'm the founder of Q4Launch. We are headquartered in Charleston, South Carolina, and represent customers from Hong Kong to Maui, and just about everywhere in between you can imagine. So we have a lot of different insights. We have a ton of data from the customers that we work with, as well as the consulting that we do and the work we do to prepare for these webinars. Tons of data that comes that kind of comes together in the presentations we give and ultimately the work we do for our customers, but then we share that data with the industry and with the marketplace and share some free consulting that ties back to our core value of sharing knowledge and making sure we're giving back to the community as a whole with what we're learning. So excited to share that with you today. As a company, we've been around for about 8 years. We've been exclusively focused in the travel space for the last 4. So I had the opportunity to exist as a company for 8 years exclusively in travel the last 4 and have been growing at a very quick pace in the last 4 years since focusing in the travel space. My background as the founder of the company, I had another company before this for 7 years. So, and we were an e-commerce company selling products online, which is really where I learned internet marketing and developed the passion that I have for it. We were selling widgets at the time, but figured, wow, I really love the marketing side of this. And we were using strategies very successfully in that company that later became known as content marketing. And Seth Godin is on record as saying content marketing is the only marketing that's left. And we have the opportunity to do that marketing as well as many other things for some of the great destinations around the world we work with. So share some of those experiences with you. But having had 15 years of background in internet marketing, man, I wish I knew the things I'm going to teach you today back then. If I knew the things I knew today 15 years ago, and I'm sure you could say the same thing about many areas of your life, but if I knew the things I knew today, I'd probably be, I would have been a pretty dangerous marketer back then, and maybe could have rivaled Al Gore for having a claim of inventing the internet. If I knew the things I knew today back then, I would own a lot of Google and a lot of Apple stock, and would probably be retired on the beach in Tahiti somewhere. But instead, I get to work with many of you and have the opportunity to market great destinations. So with that is a little bit about us as a company, a little bit about me as the founder of this company, and the great team that we work with here in our Charleston office and the destinations we work with all over the world. So let's dive into our topic today, 7 strategies to increase traffic to your website. There's actually a workbook that goes along with this. We often teach this as a workshop at conferences, so we develop the workbook that goes alongside with how to go about this, and we will send a copy of the workbook to those of you who registered. But as we send that out, you can then take that workbook and you can watch the recording that we will also send out and listen to this and actually work on putting some of your marketing plan together. And the recording that you'll get of this paired with the workbook is going to be a really powerful tool if you're out there and you're trying to do your marketing yourself and you're trying to figure all these things out yourself. For the do-it-yourselfer, it's a great way to go about doing that. And it will help you kind of create some framework or some thoughts and plans around what you need to be doing from a marketing perspective. So that's a little bit of info about the Open Your Workbook slides you'll see throughout the presentation and how to use that along with the recording. We will also be doing question and answer at the end of our time together, so feel free to use the chat panel for that throughout our presentation, and then at the end of our time together, I'll jump in the chat panel, I'll answer as many of those questions as we can. So without any further ado or any further instructions, let's dive into our topic together here today. As we're doing that, we want to get inside the mind of a vacationer. We believe at Q4 Launch that as you're planning marketing or strategizing marketing, it really comes from a place of understanding your consumer. When we're developing our customers' quarterly marketing plans, a lot of time we're talking about what are the emotions, what are the feelings, what are the colors, what are the adjectives that this quarter, or more importantly, this season, really hones in on. You know, we don't want to use bonfires in our marketing right now because it's summer, it's hot, it's 90 degrees and 90% humidity here in Charleston. So knowing that and knowing those things, we want to get inside the mind of the vacationer to make decisions about what we're doing. And as we do that, we use this 5 stages of the vacation process. This is actually some research that Google did back in 2011. They released this study, and this study has led to, it's very simple, but has led to a lot of aha moments for us as a team as we talk about these things and really dive into it. But I'm going to talk through these different stages of travel briefly, because understanding these will change the way you think about marketing to travelers who are planning their trips to your destination. So the first is dreaming. People are dreaming about the vacation they want to take. The second is planning. People start planning the vacation they want to take, right? And honestly, that's where the majority of time is spent. Dreaming and planning, they kind of honestly bounce back and forth between those 2 stages quite a bit, but that is the majority of the vacation process. The third stage, the booking stage, is actually a very short part of the vacation process. The actual making of the booking and making that decision and signing up and paying the money, that's a very short stage of the overall process. And most people on your website are not necessarily in that stage. Chances are they're in the dreaming or planning stage when they're on your website, not in the booking stage. So that's some important things to think about, and we'll dive a little deeper into that as well. The fourth stage is experience, and this is what we love about working with the independent segment of the lodging industry, is that we all, as a segment of lodging, as a segment of travel, do the experience stage so well. And we love coming out and visiting many of our customers. Actually, one of our employees is out this week visiting one of our customers, and I can't wait when she gets back to hear Lizzie's experience going and visiting that customer. I know it's going to be awesome, and getting to hear those stories of that experience. And then the fifth stage is the remembering stage, which is a very social media-centric stage. TripAdvisor has capitalized on this stage of the travel cycle, remembering and then using that information to help other people plan their vacation. I talked about the aha moments that we had as a staff. One of those was discussing this and planning marketing around this. And it was laid out by Google in 2011 when they did their study. It was a linear process. That a traveler goes through this. It's a one-time process. They move through these 5 stages, and that's it. And that's true to a certain extent. And we planned around that for about a year before one of these days. And when you hear it, it's like, well, duh, that makes sense. But the aha moment for us was, if we do great marketing to people who are in the remembering stage of their vacation process, it's a short jump from remembering the vacation you took to dreaming about the next vacation you're going to take. It's going to happen regardless. People are going to dream about their next vacation, and you have to decide if your marketing is going to do a great job of bringing your past guests who are in the remembering stage to be repeat guests by marketing well to them and getting them to dream about coming back to visit you again or visit your destination again. So great marketing can take this from a linear process into a cyclical process that repeats itself over and over and over again. But it's great marketing that will help you do that. Many of the tools we're going to talk about today will help you take that guest who's in the remembering stage back to the dreaming stage and start these 5 stages of travel all over again and get them to come back and stay with you again. So I want you to think about that. Maybe you're taking some notes and you've jotted those 5 stages down. But as you're thinking about those things, that will really impact what you're looking at from a marketing perspective, and which marketing strategies, which marketing tools, which marketing plans will ultimately fit into those different stages of travel. So important thing to think about and connect with as we move throughout the rest of our time together today and the rest of your time that you're spending planning your marketing strategy. So our strategy number 1 is to send more email. That's kind of a controversial topic with a lot of people, and if you've been with us on webinars in the past, you know we like to address a lot of misconceptions that people have. And the most common misconception we hear when we say this at conferences and people kind of look at us funny is this idea that my guests don't want more email. When in reality, I'm here to tell you that that is absolutely not true. If one or two guests told you that, that doesn't make it a consensus. That's one of the mistakes I think many people make, is one or two or three people tell them something, and then they assume that that means everybody feels that way. But even the guests that tell you that, what they're really referring to is they don't want more junk mail. So we have to make sure, as travel marketing people, that we are sending great email. Think about this statistic. American workers spend 28% of their workday on email. That's over 2 hours a day that the average American worker is spending checking, responding, replying, connecting with email at some level. So yeah, on one level it makes sense. They don't want more email, but what they really mean is they don't want more work email. They don't want more crap from their boss telling them that they have to go to another meeting or that they did something wrong or whatever else email you get from your boss might be. But in reality, they do want your email, because your email reminds them of the great vacation experience they had at your destination or your property, and it gets them dreaming about the next vacation they can take. See how we're using that language we just learned from our 5 stages of travel? It's an incredible tool to remind people of that experience and get them dreaming about the next experience they're going to have with you. And the beauty of it is, when they're checking their email and they're getting your email with beautiful pictures and telling a story and all of those things, it actually looks like they're working. If their boss walks by, he sees their emails pulled up, and whoa, Johnny, he's such a good worker. Look at him just checking his email. But in reality, Johnny or Susie is totally tuned out, and they are dreaming about that vacation to come back, spend that time away with their family or with their significant other, and have that trip to come see you. And as we do that, we need to make sure that our emails do a great job of being visually compelling, having great calls to action to be able to reach our users, or our travelers, our customers. We also have to think about the fact that email marketing is unlike any other marketing medium in that it will drive traffic spikes like you have never seen before. There is no other marketing medium out there that can drive the kind of traffic spikes that we see from email marketing. It's just hands down, nothing else will get close to it. So when we're looking at that and we're trying to drive traffic, being able to use email marketing is a tremendous tool. Oftentimes we'll see graphs like this and there will be one big spike, and I'll say, we'll be doing an analytics analysis or maybe a marketing grader with somebody, and I'll say, hey Joe, what happened on April 1st that you had such a huge spike in traffic? And Joe will, he'll think for a little bit, he'll check his email history, he'll look at his notes, you hear him kind of shuffling around in the background, or you see him kind of pondering if we're meeting in person. He'll say, I don't know, and then eventually Joe will come around to, I think I sent an email campaign on that day. And I pretty much know he sent an email campaign before I even ask the question, because I know email is one of the only things that can drive those type of results. But asking the question forces Joe to think about it, and it forces Joe to answer another question that I always ask after that. It's like, well, Joe, if on April 1st you had that much traffic from email marketing, why haven't you sent one since? And in reality, that's what we often see from people, is they send an email campaign, they get busy running their business, and they stop sending campaigns. And they're not in their analytics often enough to really understand how it performed in the first place. So I say that to say, don't be lulled to sleep by the success you have with one campaign, and don't let the busyness of running your business stop you from doing marketing well, because email marketing can drive traffic unlike anything else that you have as a marketing tool in your toolbox. And as we do that, we recommend sending at least 2 campaigns per month. And these recommendations are kind of generic, right? I mean, we customize these for everybody and really figure out what's the right fit. So you've got to think about your own business. But we like to do 2 things. One is highlighting events and happenings, breaking news, renovations, remodeling, properties you've added, changes going on, anything that's significant that your customer will want to know that information. A great thing to feature here as well is things going on in your city. Reasons to come visit is what we call it. But if you have festivals or races or concerts or an event venue or a casino or anything like that in your area, which many of us do, and we're fortunate to have those things, those community events that draw people are a great way to take people who come visit you in the peak season, tell them about all these great events and happenings going on in the shoulder season or the off season, and give them a reason to come visit you. In the peak season, your destination alone may be enough reason for them to come visit you. But in the shoulder season, With so many options out there, your destination may not be enough. But the fact that you have this wine tasting going on, or the fact that Carrie Underwood is doing a concert, or the fact that you have your Christmas tree lighting, the first weekend in December, or whatever it is, those facts, maybe it's the Shrimp Festival, which just happened here in Charleston. Maybe it's those facts. Those are enough to get people excited. They say, I've been there before, I've had that experience, and now you're telling me there's a Shrimp Festival going on, or now you're telling me that totally lost my event there, but the Green River Games, that's what I was trying to think of, which is a great event just south of Asheville. Great things that are going on that bring people to the area, gives them a reason to come and get excited about coming to visit your area. The other one is highlighting packages or specials. This summertime can be a great time for many people, but in really hot urban destinations, it can also be a challenging time. So we have some great specials running with some of our customers and to push occupancy for July and August. Ultimately push revenue, because revenue is what we measure and how we determine success. But we want to get that message out to their email database, to their following, to the people that are most likely to do business with them. The most likely people to do business with you, to come stay at your properties, are the people that have done business with you in the past, that have stayed with you in the past. And as such, you have a database full of these people who are most likely to spend money with you and are more likely to spend more money than any other segment. And very few of us are actually doing the right thing with that database of people. We're sitting on a gold mine and we're not using it the way we should be using it. So here's a few of the tips for you. Use great subject lines. An example of that, 10 things you have to do in Charleston this summer. That's a great subject line. If I don't live in Charleston, even if I do live in Charleston, I cannot go on living until I know what are these 10 things I have to do in Charleston this summer. Those are reasons to come visit Charleston. One of them is going to be sweat, because you're going to do a lot of that. One of them is also going to be go to the beach, because that's one of the great things to do here in Charleston this summer, which will tie back to a blog most likely that we wrote that's on our blog, and that gives people reasons to come visit us. And we'll talk about blogging a little bit later. But notice that's a great subject line. What's not a great subject line, and it's amazing how many people we still see sending email campaigns with these, because we're on a lot of email lists, and it's your business name newsletter issue 6. That tells me nothing. I have no interest in doing that, other than the fact that it's the 6th month of the year and you send one once a month, so this is issue number 6. Wow, isn't that exciting? So it's a totally different thing. That 10 things you have to do in Charleston this summer might be a blog inside of the Your Business Name newsletter issue 6, but I saw your subject line and how boring it was, and it didn't draw me in at all, didn't engage me at all, so I'm not even going to click on it. I'm never going to even get the chance to see that subject or see that blog topic, because you didn't pull me in with a great subject line. Here's some tips for great content as well. Make sure that your content matches your subject line. So as you're planning your content, make sure that you do this. It seems basic, but you'd be surprised how many people get this wrong, that they'll be so focused on writing a great subject line, they forget that it actually has to be relevant to what's in the email campaign. Years ago, when Groupon and Living Social and all this came out, they were notorious for this. They would send out email blasts with deals that they might have or have had at some point, but then you'd open the email and that deal would be nowhere inside of that email. Incredibly frustrating. And when you do that to your subscribers or to your users, you ultimately lose trust with them over a period of time. Use great photos to create an emotional response. Photography is one of the #1 ways to elicit emotional response. And lest you forget, people make emotional buying decisions. Your customers are buying for emotional reasons, and you need to play on those emotions when you're doing your marketing and convincing people to come stay with you. Quite often we see people making the mistake of logic in their marketing and trying to logic or reason with people from a marketing perspective, when in reality it's an emotional decision to make a travel purchase in most cases. We're not making a logic purchase or a logic to reach those people. Make sure that we're using calls to actions or buttons throughout. Buttons and calls to action get a lot more clicks typically than text. Yet most people just link their text. So you're missing a tremendous opportunity to send a great email by not creating buttons in your campaign, not creating calls to action in your campaigns. And this applies for everything in marketing, but just sending email isn't enough. You have to send great email, because the difference between a 2% and a 4% click-through rate is a huge deal. Those small percentage changes can make a huge difference in the response you get from your campaigns. And the last one there, link everything. You have to understand the way the way users think and behave. Some people are very text-driven, and they are more likely to click on text. Some people are more visually driven, and they're more likely to click on images. And if they try to click on an image, or they try to click on text that you expect to be linked, like a headline or something like that, and it's not, they'll get frustrated. And you don't want people to have a frustrating experience when they're interacting with your marketing, because it ultimately reflects poorly on your brand. So really think about that. If you're going to list a blog or a package or a special or any content, we recommend linking 3 things per article. The first is going to be the headline. The second is going to be the image. And then usually people have a little block of text. Hopefully it's not too much text, but a little block of text, maybe a sentence or two, and then a read more link at the end of that, just to make it super obvious for people that may not know where to click. And that just makes it really easy for people. And just using that tip alone, you'll see your click-through rates go up on your email campaign. Tons of other tips you can use, but that's a big one. And then expect to see results and don't give up. When I say expect to see results, that means actually look for the results. Log into your Google Analytics and see how that performed for you. And don't give up. Don't be like Joe that I talked about earlier and send one campaign and then get busy and not send any more. One of the keys to success with marketing is consistency. And while someone may not make a booking after they click on your email today, if you message them, if you send to them consistently, they're more likely to book with you over the span of that next year when they get to that place of dreaming about their next vacation. They may not be there today. They may have a lot going on. They may have a stressful day at work. They might not even interact with your email at all, but they'll see it in their inbox. They'll remember you momentarily, and when it comes time to dream for their next vacation, hopefully you're in their inbox consistently, and by doing that, you will be the people they start dreaming about. Your destination will be the destination they start dreaming about. And as you're planning for those results, we tell people to expect about a 4% click-through rate per campaign, per email campaign. So if we're going to send 2 per month, which is our recommendation, your database times 8%, so 2 campaigns, 4% each is 8%, should be about what you're seeing from a monthly traffic perspective. So if you have 5,000 people in your email database and you're not sending email marketing, you're missing out on about 400 visits a month to your website from email marketing. The average person we see, and we see everything from 500 visits a month to 500,000 visits a month, but the average person we see in the space is getting somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 visits a month. So 400 more visits is about a 10% increase for the average person we see from one tool getting a 10% increase in traffic. It's a significant number, significant opportunity to increase the amount of traffic you have to your website. I'm a little passionate about email marketing, if you can't tell. So when you get your workbooks and you open those up and you're listening to this recording, there's some great tools in there to help you write subject lines, help you plan email campaigns, and help you start the process of creating your marketing plan and your editorial calendar. So I encourage you to use both of those. Strategy number 2 is to write more blogs. I'm going to have to pick it up here a little bit because I got a little excited on the email marketing stuff. So we'll move a little bit faster throughout the rest of our time. But a common misconception about blogging that we hear is no one reads blogs anymore. There's another common misconception I've been hearing more and more, and that's that no one enters the website on my blog. And that's a design thing. That's a huge mistake that web designers are making again and again and again. Everyone we see doing web design in the travel space doesn't understand the way blogs are supposed to be used, and I could harp on that on another time, but huge opportunity there. But blogging, or what has become known as content marketing, is the fastest growing segment of internet marketing. It's growing faster than internet marketing in general and has now become a more popular, larger term than internet marketing is even in of itself. The other thing to think about is all Google updates ever have rewarded websites that create great quality content on a consistent basis, which in most times that looks like blogs. It looks like other parts of your website as well, but blogging is a huge tool to be able to do that and do that well. And when people are asking Google questions, I mean, Google is the most widely used travel agency in the world, right? I mean, everyone is asking Google. I think the average person Googles something 13 times a day. So when people are asking Google questions about their travel experience, about where they should go, about what they should do, and they get the one that Google shows them with the answer. When they're looking for the best lobster roll in Booth Bay Harbor, you need to be the one that has the answer. When they're looking for the best whitewater rafting on the Chattahoochee River, you need to be the one that has the answer. When they're looking for the best bar in downtown Charleston, you need to be the one. I should be the one with the answer, although I don't spend that much time in bars, so I probably actually wouldn't have the answer to that question, but you get what I'm saying. So here's an example of how to do that and do that well. We're really looking at the keywords people are searching when they're planning a trip to your area. So here's an example, one of thousands of examples we have. As a company, we write about 500 blogs a month. So when we're writing 500 blogs a month, you can imagine we have quite a few examples, but this is one of my favorites just because of the title in it of itself. We targeted the term Cape Cod Shark Adventures with this blog post. And Chatham Gables Inn, a beautiful little inn up in in Chatham, Massachusetts, in the Cape there, is ranking third for this. The only people actually outranking them is Cape Cod Shark Adventures, the website of the actual company itself. So we wrote this blog, and Andrea, the innkeeper, gets calls all summer long, people asking questions about the blog that they read on her website. In fact, this year to date, that one blog has had almost 1,500 visits. 781 of those visits in 1 month, and all of her blogs combined, she's been a customer of ours for about 4 years, so we've written a lot of blogs for her. All of her blogs combined contributed almost 3,000 visits for her in 1 month. Almost 3,000 visits, almost 3,000 people who were planning a trip to the Cape Cod, Chatham area who discovered Chatham Gables Inn by doing a Google search and finding her blog, finding her content, and then making reservations to come stay at Chatham Gables Inn on their Cape Cod trip. Because when they call and they ask her questions about the blog they read or anything else, she has the opportunity then to book them at her inn, to ask the question about where are they staying and really engage that person. And we see this coming through online as well, because as I spoke about earlier, when we design a blog with an understanding that people are going to enter the website on that blog post, that has to be designed as a landing page. The design of that blog post is so important, and the way your web developer sets that up is so important, because that will ultimately determine how successful your blogging strategy is. Getting traffic to your website in the first place is important, but once you get them there, you have to have a way to make sure you're converting them, and that's where the design piece of that is going to come into play and be so important. So here's 7 quick elements of a great blog post. I'm not going to tell you all of our secret sauce. We have 11, actually, 11 steps we go through when we write a blog post, and we're constantly testing and tweaking this because of the amount of data we have on what's working and what's not. But here's 7 of our 11. 1, start with a keyword or phrase in mind, and make sure you repeat it 3 to 4 times throughout your post. So in our example there, Cape Cod Shark Adventures was our keyword or phrase that we had in mind. Make sure that your blog is 500 to 700 words. We've tested lots of different blog post lengths, everything from 300 words to 1,000 words, and what we found is that 500 to 700 is a good sweet spot for us to be targeting. Anything less than 300, Google is pretty much going to ignore. We talk to a lot of people who say, oh yeah, I'm blogging regularly. They're like, oh really, how's that working? I'm like, well, I don't know how it's working, but here it is. And we'll look at it, and they'll be publishing lots of 100, 200 word blog posts, and that's not going to get it done. That's not going to drive results for you. Make sure you include an image or two to create some space in your blog post so it's not all text. That's one of the aspects of making sure you have a great design. Include an image or two. Make sure you include 2 internal and 2 external links. Some of our customers fight us on this at different points, but it's so important because 1, we want to link internally, right? That makes sense. We want to link to other pages of our website, but external links is what we more often get fought on, and that's so important as well because external links are the way the web works. Google does not want to see a dead end. If you think about the word web, in and of itself, it's not supposed to have a dead end. That's the way webs work. So Google wants to see sites, blogs, content that does not have a dead end. So you have to include external links if you want your content to be as successful as possible. Make sure you're using white space in that. Again, so you're not visually overwhelming your user when they come to that post. And when you write a blog post, share it all over the place. Social media, other people's blogs, cocktail hour, email campaigns, anything and everything you can think of. Anywhere and everywhere you can post that. Post your blog. Once you have written your blog, your job has only begun. You then have to go about the process of marketing that blog. And we see a correlation between blogs getting great social media engagement, traffic, so forth, to ultimately seeing better ranking in Google search results. So you've really got to think about the way all of your marketing interacts and impacts each other. And that's one of the reasons we talk a lot as a company about the power of integrated marketing, because your blogging strategy feeds your social strategy, and it feeds your email strategy, and it all ties back to your SEO strategy to bring more traffic and more organic ranking. It all ties together. You cannot separate marketing apart in today's modern marketing world. There used to be a way to a la carte it and still see results, but those days are over. And then make sure you post weekly. This is one of the biggest keys to success that we see with our highest performing customers. We do have some customers we post every other week for to their blog, and it works, but it doesn't work nearly as well as those that post every single week. And if you think about it, just by the sheer nature of it, it means twice as much content. If you post weekly as opposed to every other week, you're creating twice as much content. Chances are you'll be twice as successful. And here's what that looks like. Expect to see results in 3 to 6 months, but don't be discouraged if you don't see results in those first 6 months. As we're having conversations, we always set the expectation. Make sure that you don't expect results in the first 6 months, because blogging is a long-term investment in the growth of your business. We believe that in Google's algorithm that they know people will most likely quit blogging after 6 months if they haven't seen results. And as such, they don't reward sites for a while until they have proven that they're going to be committed to this consistently and they're creating great quality content. So regardless of seasonality or anything else, when we launch with customers, we see a graph that looks like this almost every single time. The first 3 months are flat. We're getting almost no organic traffic to our blogs. And people oftentimes get discouraged. And most people who are going it alone quit at this point or some point before. Either they got too busy or they haven't seen results, so they quit. But in the 4th month, 5th month, 6th month, you start seeing results. We see that line start going up. And then that last dot there where you see the significant growth, that's our 7th month with a new customer. And I show you that to say, don't quit. And don't expect to see results overnight. It's going to take some time, but when you get there, the results that you experience will be more powerful than they would have been otherwise. So strategy number 3, like I said, we're going to keep moving fast. Use social media to stay top of mind. As we talk about social media, as we talk about all marketing and travel and speak at so many conferences, the number one place we see people investing their time is social media. And the least amount of time and investment we see is made into email marketing. But in reality, social media provides the lowest ROI of any marketing medium. Yet as marketers in the travel space, the majority of people we talk to are spending the majority of their time and resources on social media. So if nothing else today, take away some of the time you're spending on social media and allocate it back to email marketing or to another marketing medium that's going to provide a higher ROI. But the most common misconception we get on social media is that no one cares that I'm drinking coffee today. And if that's your conception of social media, I would say you're absolutely right. Nobody cares you're drinking coffee today. But if that's what you're posting, you're missing the point altogether. Social media is a great place to help people discover content. And we see a lot of people on the web using social media to discover content. So those blogs we just talked about creating, you should be posting those blogs to your social media presence if you're doing nothing else. At least be posting blogs to social media. It's the very least you can do to make sure that you're succeeding. And while it's not going to provide the highest ROI, it is an area that people will check out. They want to see if you're active. They want to see what other people are saying about you. And if your page hasn't been updated in a year or 2 or several months even, people will start to question, is this place even still open? And they'll question the authenticity of your overall brand because they want to see engagement in your social media presence. So it's a tremendous opportunity, but not one you should expect to get a lot of traffic or a lot of tangible, trackable ROI. but it can be successful, and you need to make sure you have a strategy when it comes to social media. And here's a few tips for you. Focus on 1 to 2 platforms. Don't be overwhelmed by them all. If you try to do them all, you will absolutely hate your life. So focus on 1 or 2 that come most naturally for you. If you love to take pictures, Instagram is probably a great platform for you. If you love short, quippy kind of stuff, Twitter might be a great platform for you. If you're not really sure what you love, then maybe Facebook is a good platform for you. If you're just looking for the place that has the most users, Facebook is probably a great place for you to start. Make sure that you're sharing great photos. No matter what platform you're on, people will be more engaged if you're sharing photos. Make sure that you're connecting with other pages by tagging them, connecting with your guests by posting pictures of them if you get their permission to. If you see them doing something fun around your city or around your property or whatever, post pictures of them if they say it's okay. Don't be a creepy stalker and post pictures of them if they don't say it's okay, because that will lead to a bad remembering part of their vacation. And then post last-minute availability, especially during peak times. If you have a last-minute cancellation or you have last-minute availability, there are a lot of people that are looking for that type of information and just don't know how to find it. So if you have that, it's a great way to post it, and then you can boost that to your drive market. Say, I want to boost this post to everybody that's within 50 miles or 100 miles of my location. And that will help you get the message of your availability out. We've had tremendous success filling last-minute availability with that strategy. So a good opportunity there to use social media. And then the last little bit here about social media, grow your following at 5 to 10% per month. Because then when you have that last-minute availability or you have that message you need to reach somebody with, you will have the opportunity to reach a large audience of people. If you're not investing in growing your following consistently, you'll miss the opportunity to build the audience to get your message to. And then when you need to get your story out, when you need to get your message out, you won't have the opportunity to do so. So make sure you're investing in growing that audience at 5 to 10% per month, which is not easy to do, but it's important to do. And to compare that to an industry average, the industry average is about 10% per year. So we're setting a goal for you to grow at about 12 times the industry average. And it's possible, but it takes having a strategy to do it. So if you open your workbooks, you'll notice some great tools to help you there with social media as well. Strategy number 4 is to do the SEO basics to succeed at the least. And I say at the least because SEO is a tricky place. It's such an important place. And we see, as we do analytics analysis and we help people with that and we look at our customers, that if the average company is getting about 40% of their website traffic from organic search. So as an overall goal, 40% of your traffic should be coming from organic search. Of course, that's, you got to make that unique to you. But knowing that, you cannot afford to ignore this part of your strategy. And you can't afford to do it wrong either. Partnering with the wrong company in this can be more detrimental than doing it right. We had a customer that we started doing work with and had so much work to do to disavow spammy links that another company had gone out and got for them back in the day. They hired somebody that, one of those people that calls you all the time and says, we can guarantee you first page results, just give us $300 a month. They hired one of those companies. They went out and bought a bunch of links from a link farm, and they had all these links that Google had identified as spam, and that they flagged this site because then they made the assumption they were trying to cheat the system, and they were punishing them, and they were having a terrible time getting their organic rankings up. So we had an uphill battle with them to get those links disavowed, say, hey, we weren't part of this, this isn't our fault, we're trying to put this back together, and start the long, slow process of climbing their way back up the rankings. But knowing how much search traffic there is, you're missing a tremendous opportunity if you don't have a good search engine optimization strategy and you're not ranking near the top of the first page. Make sure that, so these are the least. These are the least of things that you should be doing. Lots of other things you could be doing, but this is the very least. Make sure that you claim and optimize your Google Plus page, which makes sure you have a website address, make sure you have photos, make sure that there's at least a few reviews of your business on there as well. Make sure that you're showing up in the local map. As we look at the added competition in the travel space, especially with the growth of OTAs, with the growth of Airbnb, with so many things happening right now in the travel world, the local map is your place. Unfortunately, it's getting harder and harder to get in there because Google's pretty much narrowed that down to three listings per market now. So it's really tough, but you have to make sure that you're in there. And if you're not in there, you've got to be below that on the first page of the results. Make sure that your name, address, and phone number is uniform across listings. I understand, I get the value of tracking phone numbers. I also understand that you might have a local number some places and an 800 number other places, but you need to create consistency across the board with that. If your traffic is down year over year, don't just say, well, that's the way things go. Start the process of blogging. That will help you tremendously. If it's still down after you've been blogging weekly, then reach out to someone who can help you understand why. There are so many great companies that do marketing in the industry that we work in. Use one of those people. Use one of the people that's dedicated and committed to the industry, that's showing up at the conferences that you're going to, that you're seeing as a consistent voice. Don't use one of those people that cold calls you and promises you for $300 a month they can get you to the first page. Otherwise, you'll find yourself in a mess. And I've got story after story I could tell you about people that have hired those people and had a mess. But there are so many reputable companies in the industry. Partner with one of them to make sure that you're doing this. And I don't exclude ourselves from that mix. You know, we'd love to work with you, but make sure you're partnering with somebody reputable from an SEO perspective. And then have a 5-star review strategy. This one's a little bit of a different. These next 3 strategies are all going to be a little different. But having a 5-star review strategy can drive a ton of traffic for you. Being a number 1 or so on Google is a tremendous opportunity to get more traffic. Being number 1 on TripAdvisor is a tremendous opportunity to get more traffic. And as such, you should be driving reviews to both of those platforms. It is a great source of traffic, really high quality traffic as well. And as much as possible, try to automate your 5-star review strategy. TripAdvisor has a tool called the Review Express where you can upload email addresses, and we've seen great success using that tool, although we don't necessarily love uploading all of our customers' emails into TripAdvisor, and we don't necessarily recommend doing that. It's a tool you can use if you don't have another way of doing it. And make sure that you have a strategy. And notice I didn't say have a review strategy, because that's not the point. Most people we work with are ranked 4.5 stars on TripAdvisor or whatever other review site they're working towards. So what does that mean? It means that a 4-star review is actually going to hurt you, whereas the consumer thinks they did something good for you. They left you a 4-star review. Wow, isn't that great? I mean, after all, it was good, but it wasn't perfect. You have to educate them that a 5-star review is what you expect of yourself, and it's what you need from them. So using that language will help you get more 5-star reviews. And planting that information into the mind of your guests will help you get more 5-star reviews when it comes time to leave your review. And make sure you have a strategy to get those. And if you'll open your workbooks, there's some tools there you can use your workbook to track along with that. Strategy number 6 here, set goals for each of your areas. As a company, we are very goal-driven. We're very data-driven. Actually, one of our other core values is to make data-driven decisions. But as a leader and an entrepreneur, I believe what gets written gets done. And what has a goal attached to it is more likely to get accomplished. So by setting goals, you invite accountability into the areas of your marketing, and you make it more likely that you will succeed. So set those goals. Set a goal to increase traffic from organic search by 20%. Set a goal to write a weekly blog post and have 1,000 people following your blog every month at the end of your first year. Set goals like those, because that will help you achieve greater success. And it will help you define whether or not you're seeing success in what you're working towards. So it's a huge opportunity, and I believe it's a strategy to increase more traffic, because if you do it, if you set the goal, you're more likely to do what has to happen to achieve that goal, as opposed to just saying, I want more traffic this year. Say I want 40% more traffic this year, because if you're at 30%, that means you have to hustle more to reach your goal. Whereas if you didn't set a specific number, maybe 30% would have been success for you, and you'd have the opportunity to slack off a little bit and not work as hard to get to that 40% number. So set those goals for yourself. Be aggressive, and you'll see great results from your marketing as you commit to that and find an accountability partner in that. And we do a little bit of goal setting in that workbook as well. So check that out. That will hopefully help you. And then our last strategy, number 7 of 7, and our 7 strategies to increase traffic to your website, is to review your analytics at least monthly. And this one's a little bit different too, but it's a tremendous opportunity and something that you absolutely have to be doing. We believe that your analytics is basically the pulse of your business. And just like your doctor wants to check your pulse or your heart rate when you go into the doctor, every single time they're going to check that because it tells them if everything is okay. Your analytics are the pulse of your business. And what you see happening in your analytics is the future of what's going to happen in your revenue, most likely. As a company, we track our own analytics. And we know when people are on our website, when they're reading our blogs, when they're coming to our webinars, we get more phone calls, we get more inquiries. So we track that because we know it's part of what leads to us helping them and ultimately continuing to grow as a company. So it's so important for us, and it's so important for our customers. We're in our customers' analytics on an almost daily basis, but at the very least weekly, depending on what's going on in the season and the campaigns are running at the time. So you have to make sure you're reviewing your data at least monthly, if not weekly. And if you're a larger company, daily should be what you're looking at, those important metrics. And by reviewing them, you have an idea of what's going on in your data. You have an idea of what's working and what's not, and you can be smarter about the decisions you're making that will ultimately drive to more and more success. So being in your analytics will help you drive more traffic because you will know what's working and what's not, and you'll be able to make data-driven marketing decisions as a result of that. Make sure that you're looking at it year over year because we're in such a seasonal industry, you can't look at it month over month. There are cases or certain things you may want to look at month over month, but for the most part, you need to be looking at it year over year. And then create a habit of making data-driven decisions. I talked earlier about the fact that most consumers, most travel decisions are based off of emotional responses. But we as marketers, as business owners, need to be making data-driven decisions. And then as part of that as well, make sure that you run what we call the leaky bucket test. By default, Google Analytics is set up to show you the sources you're getting the most traffic from. But you can filter that data to actually see what sources have you lost the most traffic from. And that's a really important thing to consider as well, because if you have lost traffic from a source, you either have to replace that with equally qualified traffic, or you will lose the business that you got from that source. So it's an important thing to keep your finger on and make sure that you understand as well. What sources have you lost traffic from? And then lastly, you'd be surprised what aha moments might be hiding in your data. You'd be surprised what success stories might be hiding in your data that would lead you to do something different in your overall marketing strategy if only you knew. If only you were looking deep enough in your analytics to be able to see that, analyze it, and make a decision off of that data going forward. So what's your next step? I know we've thrown a lot of information at you. I've talked really quickly at different parts of our presentation today. Hopefully you're inspired, hopefully you're motivated, and you're ready to start the process of cracking open your workbook and getting to work on driving more traffic to your website. If that's you, I really encourage you to take advantage of our free marketing grader. We will connect with you. It's software that we have and actually give your marketing a grade. Not that we're going to share it with the world or anything like that, but it will help you know what next steps do you need to take in your marketing to get greater traffic, greater performance out of that. We'll give you a score of 0 out of 100 and help you know where that stacks up against your peers. We've ran probably over 500 of these reports as a company, so we have a ton of data on where you stack up. We won't give you any other names, but we'll tell you a company about like yours with that many units or properties or whatever should have about this much traffic, and this is how it ranks against other companies similar. And from there, we'll help you be able to get you ideas and action items to make immediate improvements in your marketing. We'll also be happy to answer any specific marketing questions you have that we can't answer today. So keep an eye on your inbox. We'll be sending an invitation to request that marketing grader after the completion of the webinar today. So keep an eye out for that, and I really encourage you to check that out as a great next step. Awesome. So I've seen the chat panel icon blinking here a few times. So if you haven't had a chance to ask your question, jump into that chat panel. Do that now, and we will go ahead and jump in and get the opportunity to answer the questions in here. All right. Our first question is from Liam. Liam, how you doing? Glad to see you joined us today. Can you go over the 5th strategy again, please? I can't go completely over that again, Liam, but the fifth strategy was to have a 5-star review strategy. So what we would encourage you there is to have a strategy to solicit reviews from your customers to get more 5-star reviews. And of course, you can watch the recording to get the full update on that, but don't have time to go over the complete thing again there. All right, next question here from Susan. The question is, how do you go about designing your blog as a landing page? Great question, Susan. To answer that question, let me just jump out of this screen here for just a minute and actually show you an example of a blog that is designed as a landing page. So you can see that. And what we're looking at here is having calls to action on our blog. So if you enter the website via this page, you'll notice that the menu is across the top. There's these great calls to action down the side that change when we scroll over them, so they're engaging. And there's this other great content here, so it really draws you in. It's very photocentric. It draws you in and it makes you want to click deeper and have that experience. It's encouraging you to check out the guest rooms of this hotel. It's encouraging you to check out their breakfast, their vacation guide, their special offers. All this great content is really drawing you in as a user. Contrast that with what you see with most blog indexes and most blog posts, and there's really not an opportunity to draw that user in. So thanks, Susan, for that question. Hopefully that's a helpful example of what a great blog design can look like. But notice some of those criteria. The menu stays the same. We have calls to action. We have great photography. It really pulls the users in. Another question here from Jackie. Jackie asked the question, what email marketing software do you recommend? Great question, Jackie. If you're a kind of a do-it-yourself marketer trying to figure things out on your own, we often recommend MailChimp. It has a pretty easy-to-use interface. There's some things we don't like about it, but for the kind of average marketer, it's a good platform. Constant Contact is okay as well. Both of those are good platforms to use. We use one called GetResponse, which is actually a little bit more of an agency-level platform. It's not as user-friendly for somebody that doesn't do this for a living, but it's a lot more powerful and has a lot more features available. It costs a lot more money as a result as well, but really powerful system we use on behalf of our customers. Awesome. Another question here from Julie. Why is 500 to 700 words and not less so important? Great question, Julie. What we have found, and we've tested this, actually Google rolled out a change about 2-3 years ago in the way they looked at depth of content. So what we saw when we tested that was we ran a test at blog posts at different lengths. Every 100 words, we tested that. So we split our customer base up across all of our blogging team, our content team, and said, okay, for this customer, we're going to write a blog 300, 400, 500, 600, 700 words. Those are going to be our 5 blogs this month. And we tested that all the way from 300 words to about 1,200 words per post. And then we did that for an entire month, and we analyzed the results of what we saw from a ranking perspective. So I talked earlier about our core value of making data-driven decisions. We wanted to be able to understand Google's algorithm, the updates they were making, and say, based off of that, what is the right blog length? And the result of those tests that we have run, and we've run them from time to time since then, is that 500 to 700 was a sweet spot. We saw less success when we wrote less than 500 words, so less blogs got ranked. And we didn't necessarily see a correlation to more success when we wrote more than 700 words. So 500 to 700 became that sweet spot of there's enough to say there to write that much content where you're not stretching it out, but Google's also going to reward the efforts that you're putting forward. So that's how we came up with that 500 to 700 words, lots of research, lots of testing. Everything we do, all the decisions we make as a company come from a place of doing a lot of testing and then using the data to drive the decision that we're making. So all the recommendations we shared today, even if I didn't share a specific example, comes from having done this for 15 years, comes from having written 500 blogs a month and all the data. We send over 1 million emails a month as well, so tons of data behind the recommendations I gave you all today. But thanks for that question, Julie, and giving us the opportunity to share that example with you. Well, that's it. Those are all the questions we had in our chat panel. If anybody else has any questions, feel free to drop those in now. Otherwise, we will wrap things up. We are about 5 minutes before the hour, so we'll wrap things up and let everybody get down to the busy work of executing your marketing. and taking what you've learned today and start the process of executing it. Reminder to watch your inbox for that marketing grader report. Great opportunity, totally free of charge. We'll connect with you, share the results of your marketing grader, and give you some action items, give you some next steps to take on the process of driving more traffic to your website. Thanks, everybody, for attending 7 Strategies to Increase Traffic to Your Website. We look forward to seeing you on a future webinar. Have a great rest of your day.